Hello and thank you for joining us right here on Luntha Television. It's time for news. Enjoy with me, Jacqueline Saidi. First, the headlines.
Synod on Synodality asks members to foster communion with the marginalized. Chakwera calls for mindset change in the attainment of Malawi 2063 agenda. State slapped with 560,000 costs in Bushiri's case. And in other news, Angola police arrest over 130 after separatist protests.
We have these and more. Stay with us. Synod on Synodality leaders have invited participants to greater communion with Jesus and with others, including those who may rub them the wrong way, as they started a new discussion topic. According to Cardinal Jean-Claude Horowitz, who was speaking at the start of the General Congregation, everyone is invited to be part of the church, as the church is for everyone. We have a Catholic News Agency report being read by Bridget Manuka.
As the Relator General, the Luxembourg Cardinal addressed participants at the beginning of each new discussion module and per tradition invited the participants to the Greater Communion as the Synod will be focused on Section B1 of the Instrumentum Laudop of Guiding Document. The section, in summary, asks people to reflect on the concrete daily life of Christian communities and the question of whether there are limits to people's willingness to welcome others and groups, how to engage in dialogue with culture and religions without compromising identity, and one's determination to be the voice of those on the margins and reaffirming that no one should be left behind. Other specific topics for discernment cover the greater inclusion of people with disabilities, the divorced and remarried, Catholics, refugees and migrants, and homeless people. Synod participants have also been invited to reflect on interfaith and intercultural dialogue, justice and charity, relations between Eastern and Latin Catholics, and ecumenism. Further, Section B1 of the Instrumentum Laboris Laurent invites everyone to grow in communion by reflecting with humility with those who are vulnerable, suffering, or weak on the vulnerabilities and weaknesses of the Church.
President Lazarus Chakwera has said the Tonsalite administration is eyeing on the implementation of the cooperative's decision of an economically empowered, resilient and developed sugarcane growers in the country. He made the remarks earlier today when he officially launched Katunga Masea Kama Cooperative Mega Farm in Chikwawa district, where he stressed that about 2,193 smallholder farmers will benefit from the 1,069 hectares of arable land. Emmanuel Chucha reports.
Speaking at the multitudes of people gathered at Kama Mega Farm, President Lazarus MacArthur Chakwera urged Malawians to have a mindset change, saying they should have the spirit of taking risks. He then said mega farms is something that Malawians should take seriously, not looking down upon ourselves.
That's why the Malawi 2063 vision does not only state the kind of country we are determined to become, but also what kind of mindset we as citizens must adopt as an enabler for making that vision a reality.
President of the cooperative, Corin Zimtarika, said Agicom has supported them with 5.3 billion kwacha grant, and more people will benefit from the value chain. 1,000 hectares, which is 90% of the land, will be used for sugarcane growing, and 69,000 hectares, which is 9% of the land, will be used for growing maize, beans, among other crops. For Luntha TV, this is Emmanuel Chiwocha.
Government, through the Ministry of Education, says Malawi's education sector needs about $3 million to recover from the effects of Cyclone Freddy. Principal Secretary for Basic Education in the Ministry of Education, Rachel Piri, made the remarks earlier today when she received a donation of about 4,500 books at the ministry's headquarters in Lilongwe. Piri said Cyclone Freddy caused a huge damage on infrastructure and other learning materials, a development that has drastically affected the process of teaching and learning. Helbert Karanda with a report.
The 4-year project, which is funded by the Irish government to the tune of
Secretary for Basic Education in the Ministry of Education, Rachel Piri, said government alone cannot manage to fix the requirements, hence the need for private organizations to intervene. Cyclone Freddy fully wrecked down 72 classrooms, 87 teachers' houses, and over 980 wash facilities. Piri, however, said this materialized into the damage of property worthy over $3.3 million.
I've received this donation from UNESCO today, teaching and learning materials that have been donated to our schools, 4,200 books donated today across subjects, across years, standard 1 to 8. So we appreciate so much because indeed when Cyclone Freddy hit Malawi,
on his part, UNESCO Acting Deputy Executive Secretary David Mlela said the donation was part of its mobilizing efforts to complement government's already existing push.
UNESCO is an international mobilizer. It has 194 member states, and it organizes conferences, seminars, workshops, and through those conferences and workshops.
The donation by UNESCO includes learning and teaching materials worthy $10,000, which is about 10 million kwacha. An assessment report by the Ministry of Education indicates over 460 classrooms, 423 teachers' houses, and 542 wash facilities were partly destroyed, requiring reconstruction and rehabilitation respectively. The report further said over 724,800 learners and 3,656 learners with disabilities were affected in diverse ways. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, I'm Helbert Katanda.
Still in education, the Principal Secretary for Basic Education in the Ministry, Dr. Rachel Piri, says government is optimistic in advancing inclusive education and enhancing the availability of digital skills in various schools across the country. She made the remarks during the launch of Malawi Girls Can Code 2 initiative in Lilongwe, which aims at empowering young women through digital access and technology adoption. We have more on this report by Bridget Monoka.
The 4-year project, which is funded by the Irish government to the tune of $2 million, will benefit about 6,000 young women and 1,500 boys from 8 districts of Lilongwe, Blantyre, Mzimba, Zomba, Dedza, Balaka, Dowa, and Cholo. As the Principal Secretary for Basic Education in the Ministry of Education, Dr. Rachel Chimbere Piri explains, the initiative complements the government's effort of advancing inclusive education, enhancing the availability of digital skills, and fostering inclusive national development in accordance with Malawi 2063 First 10-Year Implementation Plan.
This is very important, particularly with our focus on human capital development. And under that, there are several enablers under that one, and one of them is inclusive education, is inclusivity, particularly looking at that, as I said, there are so many inequalities that we are faced with. So everyone has to be included, particularly in our nation. Maybe we're talking about the marginalized. So this one is focusing on rural areas, schools in the rural areas, participants, beneficiaries that will be drawn from the rural areas, specifically because maybe in the urban, the exposure is better. So this really focuses on that, and also gender inclusion, where women and girls will be included more than maybe we can focus on other populations.
On her part, UN Women Representative in Malawi, Leti Juwala, said it is their desire to equip girls with knowledge on entrepreneurship, coding, and digital literacy, which will help them become familiar with the technology.
Malawi Girls Can Code Initiative 2 is being launched in Malawi to close the gender digital divide that we experience in Malawi. As statistics have shown, men are more able to use internet than women, to access internet than women, and to even use a computer. As statistics have shown, 17% of men possess internet skills, while only 7% of women do so.
The project, which is being implemented in partnership with UN Women, will help most Malawian girls and young women to become economically empowered through increased digital access and technology adoption. Bridget Mwanoka, for Luntha News.
Remember, it's still news time right here on Luntha Television. We'll be back after the break.
Akhristu ndi ena onse akufuna kwabwino muli kuyitanidwa ku nsembe ya misa yothokoza Mulungu kuti Ambuye Alfred Chaima a Diocese ya Zomba akwanitsa zaka 25 akutumikira ngati wansembe. Nsembe imeneyi idzachitika kumudzi kwawo kwa Nambera kwa mfumu yayikulu Chiwalo m'boma la Phalombe. Misa imeneyi idzachitika loweruka pa 14 October 2023 kuyambira nthawi ya 9 koloko mmawa. Bwerani nonse kuti tidzathokoze Mulungu pa zabwino zonse zimene amatichitira, poti mu mpingo uwo olungama athandizana pochita zabwino ndipo ochimwa amamasulidwa ku zoyipa zawo.
Welcome back. If you have just joined us, know that it's still news time right here on Luntha Television. Now let's have a reminder of our headlines.
Synod on Synodality asks members to foster communion with the marginalized. Chakwera calls for mindset change in the attainment of Malawi 2063 agenda. State slapped with 560,000 costs in Bushiri's case. And in other news, Angola police arrest over 130 after separatist protests.
Moving forward, the Longwe Chief Resident Magistrate Madalito Chimwaza was adjourned to 11th December hearing of the extradition case involving Prophet Shepherd Bushiri and his wife Mary. In her ruling, Chimwaza has further slapped the state with 560,000 kwacha costs for today's proceedings following its conduct to the proceedings. She has, however, directed that all preliminary issues are to be settled before the commencement date. Robert Edward was there.
Now, in her ruling, Chief Resident Magistrate Madalito Chimwaza agreed with the state's prayer. And the reason, according to her ruling, is that it is for the first time, indeed, that the matter has been adjourned because of the state's prayer. And the second issue was she understands that the state are in that kind of a situation because they are indeed dealing with another country whose procedures and processes might be quite different from our own ways in Malawi. However, the court was not pleased with the conduct of the state. It believes that the state could have been the last to be seeking adjournment in this matter, and considering the fact that the notice for today's proceedings was given back in May, the proceedings will indeed be adjourned to 60 days. That will be, it was supposed to be on 10th, but because 10th will be on Sunday, that will be in December, so the matter will go on 11th of December. But today's proceedings will be adjourned with cost. Now, the state have to that far been slapped with the cost of 560,000, and that has to be paid before the 11th of December. However, the magistrate also indicated that all other preliminary issues must be disposed of before the 11th, essentially meaning that she don't want that on 11th there should be other issues as well. It should be just straight a hearing, which will essentially mean that the Director of Public Prosecutions in the Gauteng province of South Africa is going to testify. This is the reaction of the Bushiri's lawyer, Waponaki.
Well, in summary, I would say we're happy but not really happy because we were ready for the case today. We really prepared to have the case start today and the cross-examine the case. But we're happy that we have been punished by the court to pay us the costs of the liberation at 560,000. I hope that will be a lesson to them to take court proceedings seriously.
On their part, as the state, they describe the ruling as a fair ruling, looking at the circumstances. Now, that was the prosecutor, Chikondi and Malunda. On the cost, he says they are going to find ways of sourcing out that money, but they will surely pay the monies as directed by the court.
It's a just decision in the circumstances. The issue of cost is not strange. The court has discretion to make such an order. We'll have to find a way. We'll pay. How we'll do it will be up to us, but we'll pay. We are happy.
Now, these are preliminary proceedings to the extradition request by the South African government, which want the two, that's Prophet Shepherd Bushiri and his wife Mary, to be extradited to South Africa to answer charges there. For Luntha, this is Robert Edward.
Cancer Survivors Quest has called for added awareness against breast cancer to boost survival rates and save lives. This has been said as the organization has lined up a number of activities, including conducting an awareness campaign for breast cancer in line with the Breast Cancer Awareness Month of October. Executive Director for Cancer Survivors Quest, Chikubiro Mombe, notes that there is an information gap. Therefore, they believe that the initiatives will help people to know more about breast cancer. Tandwin Zumara with the details.
Breast cancer is the third most common cancer in women, with low survival rates from the time of diagnosis, and further, lack of information is one of the major factors that hinders women from getting the right medication. Reports have it that there is a huge stigma around it in Malawi, and women in rural communities usually go first to the traditional healers when experiencing breast issues, a situation that leads to late diagnosis and lessens chances of survival. Cancer Survivors Quest, an organization that, among other things, provides psychosocial care to cancer patients, patient support, awareness, counseling, and mobile screening clinics through its executive director, Chikubiro Ngombe, believes that if the nation holds hands in campaigns, there will be a great change, as awareness is meant to change people's mindset, which cannot happen in a day.
We need to be able to give the message to people so that they can have the power to do something about breast cancer. And as we speak, we cannot say that everybody in Malawi is aware of breast cancer. So thus, as an awareness-based organization, we are spreading the awareness, and we will make sure that we can reach as many places as possible so that everybody must know, because we know that information is power. And we need to hold hands together to be able to fight this, because together we can beat this.
Findings by the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland, RCSI, show that fewer than 10% of breast cancer patients in Malawi survive the disease beyond 18 months from the time of diagnosis. WHO records show that the disease, which entails abnormal breast cells leading to the formation of tumors, globally killed 685 women in 2020. For Luntha News, this is Tandiwe Mzumara.
The Malawi Network for Older Persons, MANEPO, has said it is time the country reflected on the commitment it made on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights on older persons as a way of enhancing their protection. MANEPO Executive Director Andrew Kavala says since January, over 19 persons have been killed, with 100 others harassed and abused due to lack of protection measures. Kavala has further called upon all citizens to protect and safeguard the rights of the elderly to make greater strides towards creating the world that is free from what, harm, and one in which every older person has the necessary means to lead a dignified, healthy, and secure life. Charity Jalanga reports.
Speaking to Luntha television, Kavala said the country should reflect on the work done in promoting human rights for older persons and commitments made during the Universal Declarations of Human Rights 5 years ago by the United Nations. He says that the continued killings, discrimination and violence of older persons in the country is a clear indication that more has to be done.
Take us back to the drawing board as a country and look at where we are coming from, where we are going. To what extent are we committed towards the promises of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights vis-a-vis older persons? What is it that we can do better to see that we are creating, or we are moving towards creating an environment which is conducive for every Malawi?
Abuse of older people can have serious physical and mental health, financial and social consequences, including, for instance, physical injuries, premature mortality, depression, among others. Over 100 cases of harassment and abuse of older persons have been reported, with over 19 cases killed in the year 2023. Charity Chilanga, Luntha Television, Lilongwe.
In international news, more than 130 protesters have been detained by police in Angola for taking part in a separatist march where they were calling for an autonomy for the northern region of the country. In a statement, police said the protests that took place in Solimo, capital of Luntha South Province, turned violent, thereby leading to the multiple arrests. We have a BBC reporter being read by Falis Chizombe.
The protests, which were led by the leader of Sebalese Psychological Legal Manifesto of the Rwandanese people, reportedly turned violent, leading to several arrests, as he was also planning to hoist the group's flag in the city. Although the Ministry of Interior in Angola said that there were no casualties during the clashes between the police and protesters, the Sebalist group has said several people were injured in the incident. The Sebalists under the Luntha Chokwe Protectorate movement have been calling for sections of the Diamond Leach Luntha North and Luntha Sul provinces. They argue that the Luntha Chokwe kingdom was never a Portuguese colony and it's not therefore bound the Ava Treaty, which granted Angola independence from Portugal in 1975. The Angolan government has dismissed the Sebalist claims and has continuously insisted on the unity of the Southern African country.
That was Falis Chizombe. That also concludes our bulletin today. But before we go, let's have another look at the event.
Synod on Synodality asks members to foster communion with the marginalized. Chakwera calls for mindset change in the attainment of Malawi 2063 agenda. State slapped with 560,000 costs in Bushiri's case. And in other news, Angola police arrest over 130 after separatist protests.
My name is Jacqueline Saidi. Thank you very much for tuning in to Television and stay safe.